I just recently played through all 3 of the Luigi's Mansion games again, and it had me thinking about the ghosts, not necessarily from 2, but mostly from 1 and 3, with the portrait and boss ghost. And I was thinking about how they actually perished. Like, how did they actually turn into ghosts, and what was their past events? I know some of these ghosts, at least for the first game, we have some information on, but I decided to go through pretty much every single ghost, yes, even the possessor ones from Luigi's Mansion 2, and talk about how they actually passed away in the first place. Quick disclaimer, this is just a fun video. None of this is probably canon, I don't think, unless Nintendo calls out some of this stuff and says, yes, it's true. But yes, just take it all like a lighthearted, fun joke. But let's dive into how each ghost perished in Luigi's Mansion. Starting off with Luigi's Mansion 1, we have Neville. Now, he doesn't really have a lot to go off of. He just yawns and his heart shows, so maybe some type of heart attack happened, or maybe a bookshelf fell on him. It seems like he loves books with the room that he's in, or maybe even a fireplace burned somehow. Maybe he was looking for a book and accidentally fell into the fireplace. Lydia could have had a windowsill accident where it actually slipped and fell down on her head as she was looking out. Yeah, pretty gruesome, I know. But maybe she just fell out the window looking out of it one night or something, or maybe something flew in, since there seems to be a really big gust when you have to defeat her. So I don't know, maybe something flew in and smacked her in the head. Now, Chauncey's a baby, so this is kind of where we get dark, but at the same time, the game does say that he was born as a ghost, so that's probably all we're gonna leave it at, because if he did die some way, it'd probably just be in the baby's sleep, hopefully something peaceful, or maybe a rocking chair incident since he's obsessed with them. But yeah, it seems like the baby was just born a ghost somehow. How does that happen? Don't ask me. For the floating Warlindas, odds are they had some type of dancing incident where they slipped and fell while dancing or something, or maybe a chandelier above them fell on their heads, as there are a couple in the room that they're dancing in. Shivers is a very strange ghost that hates it when his candle is lit, so clearly there was some type of burn incident where the candle caught him on fire or something, because he absolutely freaks out as soon as the candle's lit. For Melody Pianissima, I really don't know what could have happened to her, as she's just playing the piano in a music room. So maybe the piano fell on her, or maybe that coveted piano from Mario 64 ate her. Yeah, that's kind of dark, but you know, at the end of the day, what else could have happened to her? It's hard to say. Mr. Lugs probably definitely had a heart attack from overeating or something, or spicy food could have done it, considering the fact that he's spitting like spicy meatballs or something at Luigi from the dinner table. So yeah, probably some type of spicy food and just eating too much in general. And based on the $ on his plate and the waiters that he had given him endless amounts of spaghetti, it was clear that he was a rich guy who just sat there and ate, probably a rich, greedy man. Spooky the dog probably has more of a sadder story, as he probably was a dog that was just left out back and the owner just kind of left him, or something happened to the owner and he was left abandoned in the doghouse and eventually passed away. It could have some tie-in to the skeleton in the yard as well. Maybe it was some type of neighbor or somebody in the area that used to bother the dog or mess with the dog, and the dog was just extremely upset to see it as soon as it pops up. Could be an indicator of this. For Bogmire, we know that he's not someone that just passed away and turned into a ghost, but instead he's confirmed in the game to be a manifestation of fear and dread from the mansion itself. So he's just kind of some creepy aura creature. For Biff Atlas, he probably had some type of accident in the gym, if I were to guess. It just kind of makes sense because Luigi has to hit him with a punching bag, so maybe something similar happened to him, or a weight dropped on him when he was lifting, or maybe bench pressing, which sounds very scary, or maybe even deadlifting, as you can see the weights on the ground ready to be deadlift. That's why you always have a spotter. Nana most likely passed when she was knitting. Maybe she just passed of old age in a retirement home or something as she was knitting and threading, so that would probably be the best thing for her, or maybe a needle incident where it actually poked her or something. I don't know how that would have killed her, but I'm gonna just say of old age. For Miss Petunia, I'd say something like pneumonia or hypothermia from getting cold in the shower. Yeah, because that seems to be her weakness, so maybe somebody was pouring cold water or something in the shower and it caused her to get sick, which then later caused her to pass. Or maybe she just passed while she was taking a shower and actually passed in the bathtub. For Slim Bankshot, I think it's pretty clear that he got hit with a billiard ball. Maybe he hit one so hard it bounced off the wall and just smacked him in the head, giving him some sort of aneurysm or something. It's hard to say, but that would be the only thing that kind of makes sense based on his character and how young he looks. Henry and Orville obviously based off of the Wright brothers, and one actually flies a plane and one drives a car, so maybe that's how they actually passed. Maybe they had toy planes and cars and actually crashed into each other, or did some type of messing around with their toys and actually caused themselves to pass away, or messing in their room and playing hide and seek. Maybe they hid from their parents or something and was never found. around. It's hard to say, but they are definitely some goofy kids, so they probably did something on their own. Madame Clairvoyant is an interesting one. She's the only ghost in the entire mansion who actively is trying to help Luigi defeat King Boo and does not like King Boo and actually help Luigi find his brother. I've seen some theories online, one including King Boo actually killing her because he wouldn't work for her, and that's something that I wanted to elaborate on. Maybe in fact King Boo needed her in order to see the future if he will ever win. Maybe she refused to tell him, or she told him, no, you'll never beat Luigi and Mario, and he got really mad and maybe killed her himself. That's very much possible. I've seen another theory suggesting maybe Bowser did it, considering the fact that she's very well knowing on Mario and looking for his items and stuff, but I feel like that's simply just because of the fact that Luigi's giving her Mario's clothing so she can use those in order to learn more about him. So if I had to go with anything, maybe King Boo did it, or maybe she had some type of aneurysm or some type of brain trauma when trying to work the crystal ball. Now I am going to say this one time, any sort of Boo, such as Boo Lossus or King Boo, does not count into this list. I do not believe they have ever been a real person. They were just kind of born as a ghost in the Mario universe, and I think that's just kind of the lore with them, so yeah, they will not be talked about. Uncle Grimly seemed to only come out once the power shut off of the mansion, so maybe that's something similar that actually happened. You can also see him have a weird freak out in the back of the room and his heart being exposed, so maybe he had a heart attack for some reason, but I like to think that maybe the power went out and he actually fell down the stairs. That would probably be a very sad way to go out, but yeah, maybe once everything shut off, he tried to walk down and just kind of tumbled. With the Clockwork Soldiers, I believe we know in-game that they're technically toys from a toy collector, so they actually were given souls for some reason. It's hard to say if King Boo gave him the souls, if he was the toy collector, or if Egad was a toy collector, or somebody else that we don't even know. But yes, they maybe are toys that fell off a shelf and broke and given a new life from the creator. But yeah, they're just essentially toys, so nothing to really go off of here. Out of all the ghosts in the mansion, Sue P is probably the most scary and sad situation, because in-game it actually states that she died in her sleep. That's confirmed, and in fact, there's even a quote that she says, stating, "I won't wet the bed." Almost show that she's still traumatized in the afterlife of someone getting mad at her for wetting the bed. Maybe it's some type of abusive parents that actually caused this to her, which is extremely sad, or just simply passing in her sleep like the game suggests. But either way, it's a really sad tale for Sue P, even though she is very creepy. Jarvis is obviously a jar collector, and I really don't know what in the world happened to him to look like this, or if he's always looked like this, but yeah, I would assume he got stuck in one of his own jars, or maybe a pile of jars all tumbled on top of him in his storeroom. Sir Weston is clearly geared up in snow gear, so it seems like maybe he was some type of mountain climber or hiker, as you can even see he has a book bag on him, so he probably was climbing up a mountain one day and got stuck and actually froze to death from a snowstorm or something while he was all the way up on the summit, which is also a pretty sad tale. And then last but not least, we have Vincent van Gogh. Now, obviously he's based off of the real life artist Vincent van Gogh, and maybe they passed in similar ways. If you don't know, Vincent van Gogh actually was the cause of his own death, so maybe something very similar happened with Van Gogh, or maybe he just passed of old age as well. He looks pretty old in this game, and maybe he just passed away being a painter and was pretty much done with life, or maybe he was experimenting with something and one of his own paintings came to life and actually destroyed him. It's hard to say if he had this ability before he actually passed, or is this just a ghostly ability? Probably the latter, but at the end of the day, I don't think anything super tragic would have happened to him. Maybe a sculpture fell down on him is the only other thing I can think of, because how do you pass away from painting? I mean, after all, there is a giant chiseled statue of Biff Atlas in the background, so maybe that's what fell on him? It's hard to say. Now, Luigi's Mansion 2 obviously does not have any type of boss or portrait ghost. Well, technically, there's one that we can talk about. But for everything else, it's just kind of possessor ghosts and poltergeists. But we're gonna act like they were real people at one time and just kind of give them backstories. Why not? So, for the grouchy possessor ghost, which was the giant spider battle, maybe, obviously, some type of spider bite that was poisonous and actually caused them to pass away. For the first poltergeist on the piano, maybe something similar to Melody Pianissima, where maybe the piano actually fell on him for some reason, or maybe something to do with the books in the area, maybe a brain overload or some type of aneurysm or a massive headache from reading so many books. The three sisters are the closest we get to actual boss or portrait ghosts, but maybe there's some type of gardening accident that killed all three of them in a row, which is kind of insane. They do all three have mirrors with them, so maybe they tripped over something staring at themselves in the mirror and they were just very obsessed with their looks or something like that. that, or maybe something along the lines of another gardening accident. They got electrocuted or hit a power line underneath the ground or something. Something like that definitely makes sense. Or maybe one of their own plants actually bit them, like the Venus flytraps that are all over this area. That would also make sense. The harsh possessor ghost chooses to possess a staircase, to be a killer staircase. So I would expect some type of falling down a flight of stairs, considering the fact that you have to go up so many stairs to get to this boss battle. Maybe that's an indicator to what actually happened to this person. Maybe they fell down all those stairs, which I don't even want to imagine how bad that would be. We then have the ancient possessor ghost, so maybe there's some type of mining or explosion accident as he tosses tons of bombs down in this little mine shaft area. But we also see him use a tornado gust a lot, so maybe he actually got sucked up into a tornado by the clockwork tower, which would be also a very tragic way to go out. Next up, we have the overset possessor ghost, or the haunted clock tower. So maybe there was some type of way that he was up working on the clock tower and actually fell off of the scaffolding or something, or had to replace the hands of the tower and fell off. Once again, some dangerous ways to pass away if any of these are true. For the shrewd possessor ghost, or the ice monster, maybe someone actually fell down into this ice mine and the bomb machine actually went off, where they were actually using it to break away at the ice. It went off while they were down there and just fired bombs at them and trapped them down there to explode in the shards of ice, which, oh my gosh, once again, I'm just painting some horrible pictures, I'm sorry, but it would be something that made sense. Or maybe they fell down there and just froze to death as no one knew where they fell. We then have the strong poltergeist, which was in space, so maybe he was actually in a spaceship that actually detonated shortly after launch, or exploded just while entering space, so that way they got to at least reach space. Or maybe not. Maybe that's why he wants to fight Luigi in this space observatory type of room, because he never did get to reach space in the first place. For the tough possessor ghost, clearly he's obsessed with haunting knights, as he takes multiple knights and even one giant one to try to crush Luigi with swords, and also giant hammers. So maybe there was some type of incident where there was a knight armor set up and one of the swords or hammers dropped on him as he's walking by it in the hallway, which once again could be a gruesome death. And then the last one we have is the brain, which controls things with his brain. So maybe he did have also a massive headache or brain aneurysm. Another thing I thought of is, since he's up at the top of the mansion, maybe he was actually repairing the roof with the tiles and actually fell off of the roof of the mansion one day. It's hard to say. Or maybe even struck by lightning up there. He also likes to pick up and chuck bricks, which every possessor ghost grabs something to throw. So it might just be the only available thing up there for him to throw, or maybe he actually had like a bunch of bricks just tumble on top of him. And then finally we have Luigi's Mansion 3. So starting off we have Steward, which is the bellhop. So maybe tons of luggage actually fell on top of him, suffocating him, and then eventually he passed away. For Chambria, I've seen someone actually bring up a theory that she had an eating disorder where she would just eat random things and objects, and I feel like that's not the case. She only ate the suitcase because she was nervous when she first saw Luigi. So one thing I thought is maybe she was snooping on the job and actually picked up someone's belongings, and it actually caused her to get hurt from it, whether it be some type of chemical spill or bomb or something in someone's luggage, and she actually was messing with it, and it actually ended up killing her in the process. For Crueler, it could be a lot of different things. I mean, he's afraid of everything, even a mouse. So maybe a mouse actually took him out somehow, like he tripped after running from a mouse or something and fell down the escalators. It's hard to say. Or maybe he was actually shot by someone, like someone robbing a mall and they actually shot him in the mall. That could be a reason why he's so afraid of everything right now in the afterlife. Or maybe it was just something simple like overeating and he was just obese, and then eventually it ended up giving him a heart attack. But I like the former theory, considering the fact that he went straight for a gun, even if it was a water gun. So maybe he knew he had to be armored up this time around compared to his past life. But with him being very much like Paul Blart's mall cop, he probably just tripped over something in the mall. For Chef Soufflé, he probably definitely passed from a kitchen fire or just consuming too many smoke fumes, because the whole room is covered in black smoke from his frying pan, which the fish he's cooking isn't even cooked at all, so I don't know what the heck he's doing back there, but I'd definitely say a kitchen fire sounds likely. For Amadeus Wolfgeist, you could say the same as Melody. Maybe his piano actually came to life and ate him, considering the fact that he does possess his own piano. I doubt that, but I'd probably just simply say old age. He looks like he was very old and maybe just a talented musician and just eventually gracefully passed away. For King McFrights, he probably lost in some jousting tournament and actually got stabbed to death by his competitor, which is why he also picks up a lance and armor himself in order to kind of revisit that area. Maybe he was a king of some type of coliseum and was challenged by a gladiator and actually lost, and that's exactly why he's once again back here doing it. Dr. Potter probably definitely passed away from old age. He's very small and very old, so yeah, this is probably a graceful little time as he was gardening, or it could be his own Venus flytrap creations that he has, where they actually bit him one day and actually killed him, but either way, he died when he was very old, it looks like. Morty probably passed away on set somehow. Maybe something fell on him like a light fixture or something in the middle of filming, which is pretty tragic, but obviously when he passed, he still loved to do what he loved to do, and he's still doing it in the afterlife. For Polar Kitty, maybe she lost her 10th life. See what I did there? Okay, but no, seriously, maybe she was hit by a car or something, or maybe swallowed something that got stuck in her throat and she couldn't breathe and passed away, considering the fact that she keeps swallowing the elevator floor buttons. Now, Ugg is probably some type of ancient caveman brought into this museum, and obviously he probably went for the thing that actually killed him in the first place, which was maybe a T-Rex back in the caveman days, where it just pretty much chased him down and ate him, which is pretty sad. But yeah, it looks like he's getting back with his revenge here. Clem probably found himself in trouble in the boiler works, where he got sucked into an underwater pipe or something, which would be pretty tragic, but it kind of makes sense considering the fact that the whole area is just areas filled with water. Serpsy definitely could have been some type of ancient ruler back in the Egyptian era, where she was actually mummified and put into a coffin after she passed from her ruling, but she still looks pretty young based on her ghost, and she uses sand a lot for her attacks, so maybe she was buried under some sort of sand mound or hill, or maybe tons of pounds of sand actually just crashed into her and buried her under there, and no one was ever able to find her until eventually when she was already passed away. You could also probably throw snakes in there, as she uses sand snakes for a lot of her attacks, but who knows. Next up, you have the three magical sisters with Nikki, Lindsay, and Jenny, and I believe that they were doing some type of magic trick that just went wrong, where maybe the bombs in their hats went off or something and they were supposed to use them as part of the show, and they didn't realize what they were doing, and maybe one of them messed up and hit the other one, and then the bombs went off. You can already see them kind of running into each other and messing up at the beginning of this area, so maybe that's what happened. For Captain Fishhook, maybe he was just a shark that actually got hunted by pirates, and maybe the pirate captain actually killed him, and that's why he now has the eye patch and obviously has the hook hand and is able to possess the pirate ship. So maybe also he was some sort of pirate in his afterlife and actually got cursed to turn into a shark in his ghost form, something all Pirates of the Caribbean-y. Next up, we have Johnny Deepin, who probably drowned while swimming in the pool. Now, how is this even possible? Clearly he can swim. Well, maybe he got knocked out by a volleyball and just was knocked out for too long and there was no lifeguard on duty and he just drowned from this way. For DJ Phantasmagoria, maybe she was messing too much with the amps and tried to come up with some ultra loud sound and bass and absolutely ruptured her eardrums and actually caused her to pass away from that. Or maybe some type of electrical fire from the equipment in the back that she's actually working on with the DJ turntables. Or maybe one of her records actually sliced her somehow. It's hard to say. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't be razor records back when she was alive, and maybe that's why she turned them into razor blades this time around, so it's really hard to say. Helen Gravely seemed to be some type of famous or rich person in her prior life, and maybe she actually did own a hotel as well, and maybe this is still that same hotel. But maybe she was working on the security system and accidentally zapped herself, or maybe always looking at herself in the mirror and caring about her looks and makeup, didn't realize what she was doing and actually zapped herself that way, or maybe some type of makeup poisoning or something, putting way too much makeup on. Here's another crazy, wacky theory, but maybe even before she passed away, she always had a crush on King Boo and knew King Boo would never go for her unless she was a ghost herself. So maybe wanting to be with King Boo so bad, she was the cause of her own death just to meet the character, which would be an insane way to go out, but nevertheless, it is what it is, I guess. But that is how all the ghosts from the Luigi's Mansion series passed away. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of this list. If there's anything that you want to add to the lore of the characters or comment on any of the theories that I made, definitely do so down below. But stop what you're doing. If you love content like this, let me know by leaving a like and subscribing. Let's see how many brand new subscribers we can get from this one video. But thank you so much for tuning in, and like always, I'll see you all on the next one. See you guys.